Welcome to Business Class. I'm Steve Ekstrom from Learn Tourism, a nonprofit academy dedicated to advancing the tourism industry through innovative training and sustainable practices. Our mission? To empower travel professionals and communities with the knowledge they need to create meaningful, authentic, and sustainable tourism experiences. Ready to join us on this journey? Visit learntourism.org and start making a difference today.
Steve, how are you, my friend?
I'm a delight. How are you?
I love it. I feel the same way now.
I am in the Tetons in Wyoming.
For how long?
For this week, and the next week we go to Yellowstone. So my 14-year-old niece is now with me full time. So she's doing an online hybrid experiential school.
I love it.
She'll learn about something and then we'll go to Zion National Park or we'll go to dig up fossils somewhere. Cool.
Happy to talk with you. It's funny. I just got off a call with my team because they always try to figure out, okay, what am I going to talk about during my first 15 minutes of a convention? But I told them, I said, ironically, I kept this one thing. This was 2016 because everything I do is built around music, and that was Sting's New Day. Because remember, things were in somewhat disarray when I got here, and this would be my 11th annual meeting, and we're quite a different organization and quite a different industry from when we started.
What do you think the biggest differences are, both for the organization and for the industry?
For the organization is digging out from a couple $1 million worth of financial mismanagement, lawsuits, and those kind of things. So it took me really 16 and 17 to get that sort of fixed. And then once we got that behind us, we started building, to answer your question, two parts. One, when we went out and did our listening tour for the first couple of years, and we talked to our members and our partners, and that allowed us to come back and really develop our mission statement, and our 4 core values have really not changed since then. And then once we myopically focused on those, we went from about 400 members to now almost 800 in 37 countries. So I think we began putting on a global lens on things. And we really have focused on when there's a need for research, we focus on that. When there's a need for advocacy. And then I would just think in terms of the change that I've seen from when I ran Seattle, Indianapolis, Chicago, the CEOs of today have to be so much more versed on the political landscape they operate with it. They've got to make sure that somehow everything they do is tied to their community. Everything they do has got to be tied to the value system of that. And then they have to know the political landscape, and they have to become pretty good at financial management too, because when there are funds available, we found out that elected leaders view tourism as a way where they can potentially redirect those funds. It's no longer about just heads and beds and butts and seats and those kind of things. It is strategically dissecting each segment and trying to, does that align with your community and your assets?
Do you think that the typical CEO in a destination is equipped for that level of political acuity?
No.
Okay. What advice would you give to them?
You're seeing CEOs evolve to understand. And that's why I think they look to us. They look to industry associations. They look to their mentors who really may have a different perspective. I look at a couple of the CEOs right now who didn't come from our industry. I look at Walt Leger in New Orleans. Walt was a city attorney. He knows the landscape there. He's learned this. I look at some of the more recent people coming into the industry. I look at Steve Hill in Las Vegas. He wasn't from the industry.
Tara Franker.
Yeah. Yeah. You can go around, and I think right now, if they are astute learners, great. But I also give a lot of credit to the CEOs of maybe next or a couple of generations earlier than me that have really understood, and they've made that transition. They've understood their role. Hey, listen, no one's ever going to take away the performance of a destination, but it's how you achieve that with the community shared value and understanding those elements and understanding the political landscape. And I don't forget when Rahm Emanuel told me, when I respectfully tried to tell him years ago, I don't report to you. He looked at me, and I won't say the words he used, but he said, your name says, choose Chicago. You're the president, CEO, and I'm the mayor of Chicago. So I don't care who you report to me. So I think when you have, it's a heavy responsibility, man. When you're responsible for a brand of a city that you live and work in, your family's there, it ain't for the make of heart.
No, not at all. What do you think the next generation of leaders is going to have as their big shift?
I think clearly the continuation on responsible and sustainable travel. I think the continuation of community shared value. I think the understanding the global space that we work in and understand issues not just myopically focused on where they are, but how does the rest of the world impact what they're doing? And some recent discussions we've had, it's not like a lot of people that have said, you know what, I'm going to move up that ladder. I'm going to be a manager, a director, a VP, an executive, and then the president. A lot of people are saying, you know what, I see what my president goes through on any day in terms of the responsibilities on his or her plate. And I want to do my job and go home in the evening. And I will tell you, for most of the CEOs in their roles, you're not off the clock.
Yeah. That's a big shift, I think, for younger people in general.
I think clearly, let's face it, I think there have been generational shifts and probably in some cases long overdue. But I think, and I'll probably just compare myself to that, everything before with me was that quote, if you could get it, work-life balance. And clearly I've been imbalanced my entire life, and all you need, I don't know whether you know it, but my wife passed away in October. It literally, if Jean were sitting here, she'd probably say, well, you know what? You never had that balance thing figured out to begin with. But I think a lot of people have said, you know what? My work is my work. And if I'm really good at doing what I do and I perform my tasks, I can then have probably more time with my partner, with my spouse, with my kids, and my family. And that is something I've really witnessed. And those around me may be a little bit more in tune to that. So yeah, a lot of dynamics.
Do you think that the work from home culture has helped that in some way?
I think the work at home culture has been both positive and to some degree a challenge. And for my group, we're 100% remote, but we travel so much. We do so many events. We're together, right? And we see one another. And when we're not together in person, we're weekly team meetings and those kind of things. Where organizations that have a challenge right now is if you need to build a team culture and you don't have a frequency in being together, you can't do it remotely. I think it's helped. And I think it's given a lot of people with maybe family obligations, flexibility in their schedule if the schedule allows. But I think somehow you've seen organizations need to come back and balance the in-office, particularly. And the reality is, if I represented a destination, is a pretty good probability I would be in there, if not 4 or 5 days a week.
What do you hope to accomplish?
Continued financial stability of the organization, strategic growth domestically and globally, continue meeting our members' needs day in and day out, having some fun along the way and celebrating our successes because we have a great team, and then leaving it. I know I'm leaving it in better shape than I inherited. That's it.
You've mentioned a couple times the international scope
Global
of work and the
global
coming-
support. Because right now, if you look at DI right now, it will be probably right around 800 total DMOs by the time we get to Portland. Right now, we're about 650 US, 70 in Canada, 30 in Europe, a handful in the Middle East, Saudi Tourism Authority, and hopefully others. And then it's a spattering around the rest of the world. There's some in Asia. But if you look at the bulk of the organization, the biggest question the board is asking is, can we have sustained growth outside of the US and Canada? We used to say the Americas, but we've had the last 2 presidents of Mexico literally defund, which was one of the most successful tourism organizations. We have a handful of members are now in Mexico. But yeah, we have to figure out with 38 full-time employees, we can't be everything. We have limited bandwidth. We have to be cautious of, that's probably the biggest challenge the board has asked of me and our team. And we'll be working on a very detailed strategic plan the next 18 months.
I think the challenges too that destinations are facing here in the States versus even in Canada or Europe are drastically different. There was an episode of CBS Sunday Morning, and they had a segment on over tourism.
I saw that.
Exclusively focused on Europe.
I saw that. And I think right now, when you look at, I was just in Italy 2 weeks ago, and you look at the crowds, and it was early May. and you think about the crowds, what it's going to be like in the peak travel season, there were already lines around the block at the Vatican. There were already lines at Trevi Fountain. You couldn't get near it. I mean, you see what steps have been taken, like in Venice, where you're going to pay a daily fee to go if you're not on the island. It's a real legitimate issue. Accessible travel is very important too, because we have an aging population around the world. How are we going to continue to work to make destinations more accessible, particularly destinations that have geographic challenges to get around now, cobblestone streets or maybe limited ADA? Let's face it, the ADA is not global. How does somebody maneuver if they've got some form of a handicap?
I think of people that are on a spectrum and trying to communicate, even in your own language, in your native language, and then amplify that by going overseas, going to a different country.
Yeah. No, totally. I think let's face it, here's one thing that I will take 11 years in this job, and I'll be happy to say this. Travel slows down based on situations globally, locally, whatever it may be. It never stops. It maybe it ebbs and flows. It will go to different countries. Clearly, we're having some challenges right now that are causing people to rethink. We know we're down significantly in visitation from Canada to the U.S., almost 60% coming across the border right now. I don't know when and if that will turn around. It's in our DNA. We're not going to stop traveling. I think people will go to great lengths if there's financial challenges to save their money and do whatever they've got to do to take that weekly vacation during the summer, because it's tradition, right? A lot of families are really struggling right now, and travel is critically important, I think, to expand our horizons. And from my own idealistic standpoint, I think travel is going to be the only way we're going to culturally break down some of these barriers.
Oh, yeah.
And the only way you're going to realize is travel the way we do. And when you realize travel's the equalizer, you realize those people love their families and love their time together and love having meals. You see that. And I think sometimes we think of other parts of the world as the language may differ. The reality of travel and what it does for people is the equalizer.
Yeah. The more differences, the more similar we are.
Yep. Without a doubt.
What is your summer family vacation looking like?
My summer right now is to get through. I'm traveling, to be honest with you. I told my exec team when Gene passed and I decided to stay a little extra. I say, you know what? Listen, if I can do a trip for you that happen to have younger children or teenagers, do that. They took me up on it. So I'll probably be. So, Steve, my goal will be, once we get to our annual convention in Portland, that I put my feet up somewhere in a lake or an ocean, and I'm not going anywhere for a period of time. I'm going to see my grandkids in Tampa and Chicago.
Nice. How old are they now? What, 2, 3?
The boys are 2.5, and they live in Tampa, and my Veronica is a year old, celebrated her birthday. Matter of fact, her birthday was yesterday.
Very nice. What do you love most about being a grandpa?
Because I traveled so much when they were young in the hotel business. I got some friends of mine that worked at Westin, the Ritz-Carlton, and elsewhere. In our minds, we didn't think we were gone as much as we were. And when our spouses or partners would get together and say, well, the hell you talking? You weren't there. And in your mind, somehow convince yourself. I think the coolest thing is just my time with them. It's to the point where my daughter said, hey, how's it feel to be a first-time parent?
That's a little twist the knife.
That's twist the knife. Yeah.
What's something you'd like to learn this year? Anything, hobby?
I'd like to learn legitimately another language to the point where, other than just keywords, that I can speak it. I love Italy. My mom is from Italy originally, and I'd like to learn eventually Italian. And I love to cook. And I'm an okay cook without having any, quote, formal training. But I would like to, and probably Italy fits there as well. By the way, it's funny you ask, what do I want to learn this year? I want to learn what it's going to be like when I'm not working at DI, and whether I truly can have a hobby or hobbies. Because right now my hobbies are listening to music, eating, and drinking good wine. But that can't be a hobby. I can literally say, you know what? I got to have some legitimate hobbies.
My uncle retired at the beginning of this year, and he is spending 4 days every week watching his grandkids. Before we dive back in, a quick word from our sponsor, Learn Tourism, the nonprofit academy, where we're dedicated to transforming the tourism industry with 4 key services: our cutting edge learning experience platform, which offers robust analytics and seamless updates, our custom course development, which ensures tailored learning solutions, subject matter experts who provide deep insights and valuable knowledge, and of course, our engaging speakers who are here to inspire and educate with impactful presentations. Discover how we can elevate your tourism education at learntourism.org.
When I'm around the boys, Veronica, time flies. It's funny. I always enjoy our conversations because it's more like having a conversation. Yeah, it's interesting looking back on. It's hard to believe that I'm into my 11th year. When I looked at this, and I'm saying, "Shit, I'm going in my 11th year," and all of a sudden we looked at the map where we've been. No wonder I'm so tired.
What's been your greatest accomplishment, or what are you most proud of?
Other than my kids, my family, I'm proud of the fact we've made this organization viable. It was not viable. It was not. I'm proud of the fact that it was a whole team effort that came together to. A lot of people had the vision what DI could be, or DMAI at the time, and between a whole lot of people, a lot of members, partners, board members, we had a belief what this organization could be, and I think we're getting there.
What advice would you have for, say, the next generation of leaders? Maybe the person who fills your shoes after you're gone.
I think the one thing that I have brought to this role is all my years of traveling globally. I think whoever comes in this role has got to have a global understanding that it can't be North American or U.S. centric. It's got to understand its role in this ecosystem of tourism. And they have to, I think within our group, you got to lead by example, and you got to get out there and get after it and support our members and support our partners and be visible and present.
One of the things I like most about the destination industry is that people understand the rising tide lifts all boats.
You do.
And there's not that fight over the slice of pie when we can all work together to increase the pie. And that's global, as much as it is domestic.
Saying, you've already done your Marcom Summit. You did your CEO Summit. You did your Convention Sales and Service Summit, all of which were close to sellouts. And it's just because the opportunity for those people to learn in their vertical is growing exponentially. And every one of those ones I just said, 50% or more of the people on there are first timers, which is pretty wild. That's been now for the last 2 years. So the next generation of people coming up are now beginning to understand this community and how DI can be their community.
When we first talked, I have not met a CEO in the tourism space, the destination space, that had intentionally worked their career to be in the tourism space. Since then, and we're about 300 interviews in now, I have found 4. And of those 4, 2 have been in the last 3 months.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
In college, they wanted to get into tourism. They knew in college they wanted to get into destination work. Do you think that's a trend that's going to continue?
I think one of the things that's helping is we have been somewhat of a stealth industry. And to the credit of Jack Johnson 2 years ago, Jack said, you know what we need to do? We need to have a professionals day for our industry. We need to write about what the industry does. This past year, Mark Carney wrote a great letter of support out of Canada. We had support from the United States, governors and others, because a lot of people don't know we're not at the job fairs. We're not at the college fairs with these kids coming out. The ones coming out of the traditional tourism schools, Cornell, Michigan, whatever it may be, they're being heavily recruited by the hotel industry, the rental car industry, the restaurant industry, right? And a lot of people find their way to us in a rather circuitous manner, like me.
Yeah.
Airline, hotel, DMO space, individual, now association. So I did not find this industry, but it's funny the people now that are coming here, they cannot envision themselves going back to where they came from.
Could you ever envision yourself going back to where you came from?
No, to be honest with you, I think the hotel industry has changed forever.
It's the commoditization of a lot of factors in tourism, not just the hotels. But when so much effort and interest is put onto the quarterly return, that we're not investing in innovation. We're not investing in
and
what's
people.
good for the business, what's good for the industry in the long run.
No, we're not. And I think there's certain companies that do that and certain hotels that do that.
There's no license, there's no freedom, there's no incentive for them to build better experiences.
Look at the reality. Look what we're down to now in terms of airline choices in the United States. Think about it. There used to be 10 or 12 of them, right? Now we got American, United, Delta, and Southwest. We got 4. And then we got all these other little small players, the Allegiants, the Breezes, those. And guess what?
What's something else you want to talk about on the podcast?
I think we've covered our normal wide range of topics to make it somewhat entertaining and fun and free flow.
Appreciate it. Anything you want to ask me?
Yeah. What do you want to hear from me? What, as somebody who does this for a living and runs this association, what's important to you?
Accessibility. You mentioned accessibility earlier. To us, accessibility means 2 things. It means providing people with the tools to meet them where they're at, whether that be a ramp, a translation, stimulus controlled experiences, whatever that accessibility, that accommodation might be. The other thing with accessibility is when and where. Being available when and where people need it. And that applies to an association, being present in the European space when the Europeans are having so many problems or so many challenges with destinations, or the Asian market or Africa, which is still developing, and maintaining that presence. And a situation that just came up in my office is we have staff all around the world. So for them to get a visa to come to the US right now is almost impossible.
I know.
And we have people that want to sign up and take CDME, or they want to sign up and take this, that, the other thing, but they can't with the way things are structured present. And I think that's an opportunity for us as an industry to rethink a lot of what we do and to continue working on making things accessible for people, how, when, and where.
I think right now, Jeff Freeman and I are good friends, as Fred and I. And I would say if Jeff, to his credit, has done everything he can to continue to be diplomatic and continue to maintain a level of decorum. That's why I think our work right now has never been more timely and relevant. 42% of the respondents in our last futures study said funding is now of their top issues they have to deal with, sustained funding. And that requires advocacy. That requires them to be able to tell their story intelligently to their stakeholders, to their elected leaders.
As of this last week, we have 65 destinations that are working with us. We enrolled 75,000 individuals in the programs in the last year, which compared to almost any tourism or hospitality program in the world, that makes us one of the largest. And it's humbling.
You've got a grassroots approach. You've gone bottom up. And I think rather than trying to push it down, you've been diverse in your business. You've been inclusive. And I think that's why people will participate and want to have conversations.
I just finished reading Unreasonable Hospitality by Will Gerard, who worked for Danny Myers. One of the things that he said is pick worthy rivals.
Great.
And for me to be my own rival, to be better today than I was yesterday.
Well, we try to do
the ultimate goal.
Yeah, I think we stay very focused, very humble, but we are very intent. We never take our foot off the pedal. You can't.
Sometimes you put on your blinders.
Just got to
ignore some of the noise.
No one's got a magic solution to these complex issues, but if you stay after it long enough, you can figure out how you're going to maneuver. Yeah. And a lot of people have a tendency, I think, when they hit issues in life, go, "Oh my God, I can't fix this." Everything's fixable if you're willing to invest the time to fix it, for the most part.
And to your question about what I hope to get from the conversation, I hope to be, like I said, a better person today than I was yesterday, and to learn from everybody who's out there, who's been through it. Your time, your leadership, your insight, your candor has been really helpful to me personally. So I thank you for that.
Well, my pleasure. You want to rock and roll?
Rock and roll? I can't play the guitar, but I can bake a cake. No, dishwasher in this bus. I'm slumming. Don't feel bad for me at a campground.
Yeah, listen, you'll never feel sorry for you.
It's always a beautiful view out my window. All right, sir. I'm going to let you go because I'm sure you've got something else lined up after this one.
Yeah, no worries.
You're a delight. Thank you. I appreciate you.
My pleasure. Appreciate you, Steve. Enjoy this conversation.
All right. Bye-bye.
Oh, you mean we're done?
Oh, yeah, we're done.
And I thought we were ready to rock and roll.
Oh,
Uh,
no, we got ourselves
you know,
done. We'll definitely clean it up. And there's a few points in there where it's off.
I did want to say one thing about my role now, 11 years into it.
Sure. Go for it.
It's funny, as we talked about in our last conversation, in my wildest imagination, first of all, I didn't think I'd be in the DMO space, let alone having the privilege of leading the association. And every day I think those of us who work at a city or a state or whatever the role may be, we take great pride in what we do. And I've never been more humbled into my 11th year now to do what I do. I still love what I do. I have a great team around me, both the DI team and a great unwavering support with our board and our committees and all the great work that the foundation does. And that plays a critical role. I think you have to, in this day and age, love what you do and really have the joy that goes along with the job. 11 years into it, I still feel that way.
If you love what you do, you can't call it work.
That's right.
Thanks for tuning in to Business Class. This episode was brought to you by Learn Tourism, the nonprofit academy where we advance the tourism industry with cutting-edge training and sustainable practices. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to visit learntourism.org to learn more about our programs and how you can get involved. Until next time, stay curious, continue learning and making a difference through tourism.